Hi everyone. Today we're going to be reading Rumpelstiltskin. It was adapted by Sherry Altman. And so this is a fairy tale, and a fairy tale has three major things. It has royalty, so kings, queens, princes, and princesses. It has magical elements, so there's something magical in the story. Let's see if you can figure out what it is. And then the third thing is it has a good versus evil. And so there's good characters and there's evil characters. In this story, there is one good character and there are three, maybe two evil characters. All right, so we are going to start on slide number 2 if you want to follow along. It says, once in a land far away, there lived a poor old miller who had a beautiful young daughter. One day, while tending to his fields of wheat, he saw the king and his men passing on a nearby road. The miller wanted to impress the king, so he made up a story about his daughter. When the king and his men came near, the miller greeted them and boasted, "Your royal majesty, I have a daughter that can spin straw into gold." Now the miller had the king's full attention. He was a king that loved wealth and riches most of all, so upon hearing this, he knew he had to meet the miller's daughter. The king replied, "Now that is a talent in which I would be very interested. Bring her to my palace tomorrow so I can see this for myself." The next day, the miller brought his daughter to the king's palace. The king led the girl to the room full of straw. In the center, there sat a spinning wheel. "Now spin this straw into gold by morning. If you don't, it will cost you your life," ordered the king. Then he closed the door and locked it, leaving the girl alone with the straw. The miller's daughter had no idea how to turn straw into gold, so in her despair, she began to cry. It wasn't long after when she heard the door creak open, and in came a strange-looking small man. "Good evening, Miss Miller. Why are you crying?" asked the little man. "I've been ordered by the king to spin the straw into gold by sunrise, and I simply do not know how to do this," she replied. The little man paused for a moment and then asked, "What will you give me if I spin this straw into gold?" Thinking quickly, she immediately started to take the necklace off her neck. "I will give you my necklace," she replied. Satisfied with this offer, the little man sat at the spinning wheel, and with a whirl, whirl, whirl of all the spinning wheel, the straw was turned into gold. And then the strange little man disappeared. Slide 3. As soon as the sun peeped over the horizon, the king entered the room. To his surprise and great pleasure, he saw all the straw had been turned into spools of gold. Though he was delighted at the sight, it only made him want more. So he took the miller's daughter into another room that was much bigger than the first. It was filled with even more straw than the first room. Again he ordered, "Spin this straw into gold by morning. If you don't, it will cost you your life," and then closed the door and locked it, leaving the girl alone with the piles of straw. Again the miller's daughter began to cry. It wasn't long before the strange little man appeared once more. Knowing why she was crying, he asked, "What will you give me to spin all this straw into gold?" "I will give you my ring," she replied. So once again the little man sat at the spinning wheel, and with a whirl, 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 he spun all the straw into gold and then quickly left. Oh, how pleased the king was. He entered the room in the morning. However, the feeling was short-lived. He desired even more gold, so he led the girl into another room. Now this room was the largest of them all, and it was filled with even more straw than the miller's daughter could have imagined. "Spin this straw into gold by morning," he demanded. Then he announced, "If you do, I will make you my wife and queen of my kingdom." He turned and locked the door, leaving the girl alone yet again. Overwhelmed by the sight of the straw, the girl began sobbing. Once again, the strange little man asked what she would give him if he turned the straw into gold. She replied, "I have nothing more I can give." "Well, then," said the little man, "you must promise me your first child when you become queen." The girl thought to herself, "Who knows what the future will hold?" Being in the bind she was in, she quickly agreed to his request. Once more the little man spun all the straw into gold and then disappeared. At the crack of dawn, when the king saw all the gold, he took the miller's daughter as his wife and made her queen. Slide number 4. A year had passed when the queen gave birth to their first child. She had long forgotten about the little man and her promise, so she was surprised when he appeared to claim the child. Horrified at the thought of giving her baby to the odd little man, she offered him all the riches in her kingdom. "The child is more precious to me than your wealth," said the little man. Realizing the man intended to take her baby, she began to sob uncontrollably. The little man could not bear to see the queen in such a state, so he asked, "Do you know my name?" The queen did not. So the little man told her, "You promised your firstborn to me, but if in 3 days you can tell me my name, I will let you keep your child." Immediately the queen began guessing. "Is it Bob?" "Nope," replied the funny little man. "Bill?" asked the queen. "Nope," the little man replied again. "Sam? Ted? Frank?" asked the queen, listing all the names she could think of at that moment. The little man replied, "No, no, no." Then he warned, "I will be back tomorrow night to see if my name has come to you." And he left as quickly as he appeared. The queen realized this was going to be harder than she thought. So she sent for her maidservant and asked her to go throughout the villages and collect a list of odd names. The next night, when the little man returned, she tried the long list as the long list of unusual names. "String legs, skinny bones, knob knees?" To which the little man replied, "No, no, no." And when the queen had gone through her entire list of names, the little man left with a smile on his face. Now the queen was quite frantic, for she knew she only had one more night to guess his name. She had tried so many names the last 2 nights, she couldn't imagine what other names she could present. So she summoned all of her servants and asked them to go beyond the villages of the kingdom to collect lists of the rarest, most unusual names they could find. The next morning, when her servants returned, one came to her to tell her of the most peculiar story. She told her a story of a little odd man dancing around a fire, singing a strange little tune. In that tune, he declared his name as Rumpelstiltskin. The queen's hope grew as she listened to the story. More the servant told her, the more she was sure it was the same little man who wanted to claim her baby. Slide 5. That evening, the odd little man appeared again. At first, the queen acted unsure of herself, first inquiring about some strange names. "Is it Eugene?" she asked. "No," he replied quickly. "Abner? Balthazar? Cosmo?" "No, no, no," cried the little man as he reached for the child. "Wait!" shouted the queen. "Could it be, perhaps, just maybe, Rumpelstiltskin?" The little man's eyes widened in surprise, and his face became beet red with anger. "Who told you that? Someone must have told you!" he yelled, and stamped his foot in such a fury he shattered into a million pieces, and a gust of wind blew the pieces out the castle window. The strange little man was never seen again, and the queen lived happily ever after with the king and their child. Hopefully you've enjoyed the story of Rumpelstiltskin. You want to make sure that you go back to your screen with your story and that you answer the questions on the slides that follow. If you need help, make sure you ask questions in class. I will see you soon.